Hi, my name is LauraEllen. I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, researcher, and implementation scientist. But don't worry, I like normal things like coffee, soccer, and more coffee. I'm going to be your guide to all things diffusion of innovations theory. Now, you may be thinking, I don't like theory. I don't understand theory. I don't think theory has a role in my research. I get it. I used to be the conductor of the theory skeptics train. Then, I read Diffusion of Innovations Theory. That's right, I read all 478 pages. Join me as we walk through an introduction to Diffusion of Innovations Theory. Diffusion of Innovations Theory is a wide-reaching theory that helps us to understand the spread of information and the adoption of a new intervention. First, a little bit of history. Diffusion of Innovations Theory was first developed out of the agricultural sector. I know, right? Everett Rogers observed differences in how and the degree to which farmers adopted new technologies. He put these observations together into Diffusion of Innovations Theory, which has now been applied to innovations across a variety of topics, from birth control to electric cars. But what is Diffusion of Innovations Theory? Diffusion of Innovations Theory has four key elements: the innovation, communicated through channels, over time, to members of a social system. Now that may seem really simple, and it kind of is. That said, there are many components to each of the four main elements to unpack. The best place for us to start is by defining each of these core components. Let's start with innovation. Rogers defines an innovation as an idea, practice, or object that is perceived as new by an individual or other unit of adoption. Sometimes we think of innovation as technology or an instrumental action that reduces the uncertainty in the cause-effect relationships involved in achieving a desired outcome. Innovations or new technology takes effort to learn. As one increases in their knowledge of an innovation, they are then able to make a decision about whether or not to adopt the technology. This is called the innovation decision process, which I'll talk about in another video. When we think about innovations, there are characteristics that are important for us to consider. We think of these characteristics as perceptions of the folks within the social system. The characteristics of innovations are relative advantage, or the innovation is perceived as better than previous ideas. Compatibility is how well the innovation is perceived to fit within the values and experience. Complexity is the degree of difficulty to understand or use the innovation. Trialability is how much someone can experiment or practice with the technology before adoption. And observability is the degree to which the results of the intervention are visible. We just talked about how innovations are defined in Diffusion of Innovations Theory. Now let's talk about how information is communicated through communication channels. Communication channels are the second key element to Diffusion of Innovations Theory. Communication channels, just like they sound, are ways in which messages get from one person to another. Channels may include things like mass media, such as television, YouTube, or newspapers, where a few people have the ability to reach many people. Other examples include interpersonal channels, where there is face-to-face interaction between two or more people. An important factor when thinking about communication channels are the degree of homophily and heterophily. Homophily describes the shared attributes between two people. Often this includes things like education, beliefs, or socioeconomic status. Heterophily describes differences in attributes between people. Heterophily is often a barrier to diffusion of innovations and may include factors such as geographic location, access to resources, etc. Okay, so far we've talked about the definition of an innovation and communication channels. The next key element? Time. When we talk about time in Diffusion of Innovations Theory, we are thinking about three main components. The time it takes to move through the innovation decision. This includes knowledge, persuasion, decision, implementation, and confirmation. I know, there's a lot there. Be sure to check out the Innovation Decision Process video to learn more. 2, the degree of early or lateness of the adoption. I'll talk more about this in the S-curve video. And 3, the rate of adoption within a social system. Another aspect of time is innovativeness. When we think of diffusion of innovations theory, innovativeness is the degree of early adoption. Now, if you've been around diffusion of innovations theory at all, I'm sure you've heard of these terms. We have 5 categories of innovativeness. They are the innovator, or those who actively seek out new information, early adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and laggards. The rate of adoption by these 5 groups across a social system helps to develop the famous, or infamous, S-curve. So that was a lot. So far, I've talked about the innovation communicated through channels over time, and now it's time for our final key element, members of a social system. A social system is a set of interrelated units that work together to reach a common goal. These units tend to be distinguishable from one another. This may look like a group of physicians who agree to try a new treatment, or a group of organizations within a county who work together to address homelessness in their community. The structure of the social system affects the flow of information and how diffusion spreads. For example, a highly structured social system may result in decreased uncertainty about the intervention. However, it may also mean that social pressures may lead to premature adoption by some groups, which can later result in de-adoption. Social norms are an important part of social systems, with opinion leaders and change agents as key figures. We did it! We made it through the 4 key elements of diffusion of innovations theory. As a reminder, the 4 key elements are the innovation communicated through channels over time to members of a social system. This is just the beginning. Be sure to check out the rest of the videos in our Diffusion of Innovations Theory series to learn more.